Our scripture this morning is short, but I think it's a wonderful paradigm for Christian life. I really do. It comes from Paul's letter to Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 16 to 18. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing. In everything give thanks, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. The word of God for the people of God. Isn't this a wonderful time of the year? It's so beautiful that we've enjoyed cooling off of the weather a little bit, and the leaves are turning and they're beginning to fall. We know it's changing seasons. We know that it's a wonderful time, and it really is a good time for Thanksgiving. I think we all have memories of past times when we've gathered our families around the Thanksgiving table with decorations and a full spread of home-cooked, taste-tempting dishes that play vividly in the memory of how we do Thanksgiving, how Thanksgiving is celebrated. The fellowship of family members coming together, sometimes from faraway places and sometimes just for a little bit of time, but they come and we gather together for Thanksgiving. It's a really sacred time. And the food. You can't have Thanksgiving without food. The food that fills our tables is the best that we can bring. And I imagine that every one of our families has some special dishes that have come down the generations and we share and we enjoy. Our particular one is my mother's great-great-grandmother's carrot pudding. And it's carrots and walnuts and raisins and apples, a cup of each, and you put it together and you steam it for 4 hours and you serve it with a hard sauce, and it's wonderful. So we've got the turkey and all the fixins and the mouth-watering pies that follow the meal, and they have a special place in our hearts, remembering them and anticipating them. We tend to think that Thanksgiving is a family holiday celebrated across America. So it's an American holiday. Didn't George Washington proclaim the fourth Thursday of November to be the day that we all gathered and gave thanks? So it's an American event, like the 4th of July, right? Actually, we Americans can't claim that we're the first ones to think up being thankful, or even the first at arranging a day for everyone to be in the country to bring thanks to God. People have been celebrating a harvest festival and giving thanks to God as far back as I can count to Noah. And you know, even before Jesus' times, the Israelites were having Thanksgiving. God told them to have several Thanksgiving meals every year. It's been around for a while. Dave and I lived in Germany for almost 20 years, so a good portion of our family life and memories are back there. And I remember when we lived in West Berlin one year, we thought we might be able to share our Thanksgiving dinner with a German family. You know, we had so much food and it was a nice time to share. So we knew the Methodist district superintendent in town, and so we asked him and his family to come. And, you know, dinner was going to be at 2 in the afternoon. And the family had to leave from their jobs, time off from school to come to this event on a Thursday afternoon. And then they saw all this stuff on the table, and it was incredible. They said, oh my goodness, they'd never seen so much food for one family. And they said, this is like Schlafenland, which apparently is a German idea, a story about wonderful food that's just floating all around in the air, and you can just open your mouth and take a bite of whatever looks good. Other times we thought maybe it was kind of hard to invite someone in the middle of the day, kind of interrupted their day, so we invited our neighbors to come after the Thanksgiving dinner in the evening and have pie and coffee. That seemed to work better. So America might be the only country that takes time in the middle of a week to celebrate Thanksgiving. Have you ever attended a Thanksgiving dinner at the home of someone who did not include some sort of Thanksgiving prayer during the party? In other words, the family didn't give thanks to God. It becomes a rather awkward moment in the day. All the same great food is there, and the festiveness, and the families are being together and taking time from jobs and school, but there's no Thanksgiving prayer included in all the other good stuff. And suddenly you wonder, what was all the fuss about? Suddenly you wonder why you didn't suggest to lead the prayer yourself before dinner. Suddenly you're wondering if anyone noticed that the prayer was absent. Suddenly you're very aware that you have failed. You who knew better who knows that the whole reason for the feast is to give thanks to God, has managed to allow that opportunity to pass without mentioning it. Suddenly, in the back of your mind, you're feeling very odd. Now, there's a reason if that has happened to you. We Christians know that we should be thankful to God. To bring thanks to God for all the many blessings that we have and that we've had in the past. To bring thanks for the goodness of God's plan. God created this wonderful world and everything in it. God figured out all the wonderful cycles we have. You know, all these cycles, we've got the seasons and the water system and the food cycle and the weather cycle and our growing older cycle and all these things. Even the cycles within our own bodies are so wonderful and they work perfectly all the time. The blood system and the alimentary system and the endocrine system and all those systems. Ones we don't even remember. But they work so well, and those are good reasons to be thankful. We bring thanks because of the beauty in our world, the many different animals and plants, and the many different places in this world that are fun to visit or to learn about. We give thanks for the wonderful kinds of food that we have, and we could go on and on about food. How many times have we sunk our teeth into something really delicious and been thankful? How many times have we stepped into a nice hot shower first thing in the morning and just been thankful for a new day? How many times have we seen a gorgeous sunset or a great harvest moon like the one that was last night and been thankful? How many times have we gazed into this night sky and looked at this enormous size and just are amazed at how wonderful it is and how big our God is? Now, saying why I'm thankful is beginning to sound a little bit like a grocery list. We could start listing things. If we went around this room, we'd be going around and around and around, just naming wonderful things that we can be thankful for. But I'm not sure that that's what Thanksgiving is about. We are thankful for things because they're useful. They bring comfort or help to us or are interesting. We like the taste of some things, the smell of others, the sound of others. We love the gift of sight because we can see this wonderful world. But I keep asking myself, what is being thankful about? St. Paul says, he tells us, be thankful in all circumstances. That's not the same thing as being thankful for specific things, like that big chocolate cake or whatever. It's not so much the focusing on things we happen to think of at the moment, about being happy in our lives, but it's about the attitude we bring as we go through our days. Now, Paul says, be thankful in all circumstances. That's a very short scripture verse. Let's learn it today. Be thankful in all circumstances. Say it again. Be thankful in all circumstances. There are something, but you say, there are some things in this world that don't deserve our thankfulness. There are some things that are wicked or evil or not appropriate for giving thanks. And you're right. Our world has a way of presenting us with difficulty. There are times when we get a scary doctor's report, or we lose something important, or we break something, or maybe the bottom line is painted red. There are challenges, and they can be times of discomfort and distress. Surely we can't be thankful for those, can we? Surely not. But Paul's words are, be thankful in all circumstances. How does that work? Well, maybe Paul waltzed through life without having any pain in his world. He didn't see the pain. He didn't understand it. And so that's why he said, give thanks in all circumstances. I hope you don't believe that. Paul writes about his own personal experience that happened when he was a missionary. And you find it in 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Let me read what Paul writes about his own work. I have received far greater labors, far more imprisonments with countless floggings, often near death. 5 times I have received from the Jews 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I received a stoning. 3 times I was shipwrecked. For a night and a day I was adrift at sea. On frequent journeys in danger from rivers, danger from bandits, danger from my own people, danger from Gentiles, danger in the city, danger in the wilderness, danger at sea, danger from false brothers and sisters, in toil and hardship, through many a sleepless night, hungry and thirsty, often without food, cold and naked. I guess Paul had seen a couple of bad things himself, hadn't he? It's not the individual things that we are thankful for, but rather it is the attitude of thanksgiving that Paul is talking about. The attitude itself is the foundation of thankfulness. Having an attitude of thankfulness means, number one, we are humble before God. We recognize that we're not number one. In fact, we recognize that without God's creation and goodness, we'd be nowhere. In fact, we would not exist. Having an attitude of thanksgiving requires that we have faith in the one to whom we give thanks. You know, you can't be thankful to avoid. I'm thankful, but to no object. The object is Almighty God, who created us, redeemed us, and sustains us every day. The attitude of thanksgiving puts us in a position of being a servant to God. An attitude of thanksgiving involves awe of our Creator. We look into this world and we know that even as smart as we might get, we're never going to understand it all. There's mystery with God. We'll never know how or why God made the universe. We'll never understand those things like love and life and death and creation and salvation. I don't think we're going to understand friendship or beauty or justice or hope. Not completely. There's much of God we just can't wrap our minds around. But we can be in awe, realizing that God, for some reason, has chosen us to be part of His creation, to be part of the care of His creation, to build up community, to grow in His love. An attitude of thanksgiving comes from our hearts. It's not something that others can put in your heart. It comes from you. It's not, I can't change your attitude, and you can't change mine. Attitudes come from our heart, and they are completely our own, and it's part of what God has given to us as a free gift to us. I wonder if you have heard or might remember a fellow named Dr. Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor. He lived through the terrors of living in the Auschwitz concentration camp. In fact, he lost his entire family there except for his sister. Dr. Frankl was a neurologist and a psychotherapist before he went into the concentration camp. But in the concentration camp, he found that he had no control over anything. Nothing what he would eat or where he would sleep or the clothes he wore or whatever he did. He had no control over it. He was told what he would do. But he did discover one thing. He realized that although everything can be taken away from a man, one thing remains. One's attitude, which cannot be taken. The last of the human freedoms is the freedom to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. You know, he thought he was going to be sent to the gas chamber every day he was there in the concentration camp. He had no ability to do any of those things, but he had this one thing, that he could choose his own attitude, and no one can take you from that. Back in 1980, when we were in West Berlin, Dave and I were blessed with our third child, Katie. She was born on the 2nd of October. And of course, we were thrilled to have a new little one added to our family. Now, Katie was a surprise child. We hadn't planned on her, but we were very pleased that she came. A month later, on November 4th, 1980, Katie didn't wake up. She had died of crib death that morning in her crib at the night. Now, I was awakened that night, or that morning, at 6 o'clock by the alarm clock, because I'd set the alarm clock in case the baby had slept through the night. I thought, oh, the baby slept through the night, this is good. I thought if I needed to set the alarm because our two older kids were in 2nd and 3rd grade and they needed to get up and get ready for school and get after school. So I asked Dave if he would go over and pick up the child and bring her to me in the room. So it was Dave who found this baby's little stiff little body in the bed. And he came over, he picked up the child, and he walked over to the door. It was across the hall from my room. And he said, he looked at me and he said, I think Katie's dead. Then he put the body back in the crib. And he came over to me, and we looked at each other and we said, what do you do when this sort of thing happens? What do you do when your child has just died? We absolutely didn't know. And then I thought, I remembered Paul's words, give thanks in all circumstances. And I told Dave, I think we're supposed to give thanks. And so we held hands and we sat down on the edge of the bed and we thanked God for taking care of Katie, because we certainly couldn't. And we asked God to be with us in guide us, help us through whatever was coming, because we didn't know what was about to happen. We were just kind of lost. Now, I'm pretty sure that this prayer did not reduce the pain or the grief that we experienced in the next couple of years, but I do believe it helped us to keep God in the picture of what was going on. That day, by the way, was November 4th, 1980. It was the day that Ronald Reagan was elected president in America. Our memories of that terrible day include us hearing the election results on the Armed Forces Network radio as we sat there in our house in Berlin. I can't help but see the irony of the 2 days, the 2 election days, then and now. Both days were great surprises, and they were more than difficult. But in times of trouble, when things aren't going right for us, we might be tempted to turn our attention to revenge or hitting back or whatever, rather than having an attitude of thanks to God. When we do that, when we put something else in front of God, we're breaking the first commandment. Do you know that? Have no other gods before me. God comes number 1. And that's a serious problem. I was pleased when you mentioned this light thing because I have it here and I was put it here. Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount said, let your light so shine before others that people will see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. And I'd like to make a little corollary to that and say, maybe we could say, let your thankfulness so shine before others that they will see your attitude and glorify your Father.